I want to discuss one other little issue in a short video here is movable versus fixed position solar arrays. And especially in an urban environment, here you can see there's buildings around. Up here you can see that the sunlight hitting the side of this building, but because of the fences and walls here, there is a we're not always going to get the sunlight towards sundown. Okay, so that's the western direction. We're getting toward sunset, and so if that's west, okay, this is going to be south. And when people talk about mounting solar panels south facing, that is fixed position averages. Okay, now when I look at the side of this building up here, that's a south-facing slope. So if this were going to fixed position, we would say, okay, well, the best average location is south. Well, a couple of years ago, I worked with some guys on a house installation. They had a computer program where they could actually optimize panels for, roof, because a lot of times all these roofs were put in at a time when nobody really cared whether they face north or south. There's other considerations for how the roof slope is going to go. But here you see an illustration where, like, this roof is getting straight on sunlight on its western side, and of course in the morning it gets straight on sunlight on its eastern side. And the old conventional wisdom was, well, we put all the panels facing south and it's the best way. And in reality, that's not always the case. The new wisdom, because panels cost less than they used to, is that it can be entirely cost effective to have your array split in two, with half of them facing east and half facing west, especially on a more gently sloped roof, where, let's say at around noontime, they're all going to get something, because they face mostly up, right? Depending on the angles and depending on the time of year. Okay, well, here's one of the ways you can kind of beat that system a little bit, and it's not wrong to put at panels, let's say, to split your array in half, put half facing east and half facing west, because the way monocrystalline and polycrystalline panels work, and less the case with amorphous, a little bit different animal on that. But talking about monocrystalline and polycrystalline panels, one of the big things you can deal with on that is that if they're just getting, facing the sky, you'll get some power, but you're not necessarily getting optimum power unless they've really got sunlight on them. So what I'm doing here is I was shuffling this trailer around during the day, because I have it on 3 wheels, and this wheel here is a caster wheel. I was shuffling it around during the day to try to keep direct sunlight on the panels. And because the batteries are fully charged, and well, now it's showing a dot because they just dropped a little bit off maximum, but I had the grid tie inverter going. Now I've got a green light on a grid tie inverter that's blinking kind of slowly right now because it's no longer getting direct sunlight. But what it is I can switch this between a grid tie inverter and a charge controller that keeps the batteries up. 1 battery here and then 5 batteries here is 6 total. Okay, so that's a lot of battery, but to optimize this, because it is only 400 watts worth of power production, but these are 12 volt panels, so I've got close to, right around 30 amps of real world power coming in on this. To optimize that, I get more energy by having this thing on wheels and being able to shift it around and spin it around and move it during the day to where it gets more sunlight. Now, on a normal day-to-day basis, it's not worth your time if you're trying to make money selling power to the grid, okay? You're not trying to make money doing that. But if you're off-grid and you're really trying to get the most out of your system and you're using it at a pretty high rate, that's one of the advantages of having your system mounted on a trailer as opposed to mounted on a building, because what you do is you set the trailer up with a caster wheel, extra wheel here, And of course it rolls on the ground and you can move it around. You can maybe move it from one part of your little area so it gets a little clearing through the trees to get direct sunlight on it. You can move it around as you need to. And then using a long enough power cord to whatever it is you're trying to run, you have that, okay? You can move this thing around a little bit and optimize your power production when it's on wheels. But if you set this up in a little building or shed, obviously it's permanently there, but then it could be a little harder to steal. So, you know, there's give and take, there's pluses and minuses. And if we do a power consultation with a group or backwoods living person, you know, that's all part of your decision-making process. You know, if you want to box one of these in, you know, let's say we're going to be putting the fence up here, and we box one of these in here, well, there's no building permit for a trailer, okay? There's none of that. Now, if we were actually going to try and sell power to the grid, there's a special contract that would be required for the power company. So, you know, if you do that on a regular basis, that's one of the considerations. But the other thing is to simply, you know, box one of these into an enclosed area. And if you really want to maximize the amount of power you're getting on a day-by-day basis, you just go out and you just kick this thing around and you can spin it. You can spin it to follow the sun. You know, you can go out and turn it around. On some other stuff at a retreat location I've done a lot of work at with some people, you'll see that they have, of course, the arrays on a big pivoting stand, which is good. You know, it makes it nearly impossible for somebody to steal, especially if it's made out of big, thick, heavy metal. But if you're going to be mobile and you want something like this, you know, this is one of the ways you can maximize the amount of energy you're going to get, because there is a size limitation to how much panel array you're going to have. And so that's one of the considerations to have on, you know, having something that's movable versus fixed location, versus whether or not you're going to make the decision to, you know, remove your array from your trailer, use a trailer for moving cargo around, and just set that up in a fixed location. Because if you set it up in a fixed location, even facing south, you're only optimizing your direct sun, you know, for the middle of the day. But if you can point it, you know, east in the morning and west in the afternoon, you're going to get more power total throughout the day.